A young woman went to her mother and told her about her life. Things were so hard for her. She did not know how she was going to make it and wanted to give up. She was tired of fighting and struggling. It seemed that as one problem was solved, a new one arose. Her mother listened, but did not yet speak. Instead, she took her daughter by the hand and led her into the kitchen. There, the mother filled 3 pots with water and placed each upon a burner. Soon the pots came to a boil. In the first pot, she placed carrots. In the second, she placed eggs. And in the third, she placed ground coffee beans. She let each sit and boil without saying a word. About 20 minutes later, she turned off the burners. She fished the carrots out and placed them in a bowl. She then pulled the eggs out and placed them in a bowl. Then she ladled the coffee out and placed it in a bowl. Then the mother spoke to her daughter. "Tell me, my child, what do you see?" "I see carrots, eggs, and coffee," she replied. The mother brought her daughter closer to the bowls. Each felt the carrots, and each noted that they were now soft. Each peeled an egg, and each noted that they were now hard-boiled. Finally, each ladled coffee into cups, and each smiled as they smelled the aroma and tasted the rich blend. The daughter then asked, "What does it all mean, Mother?" And so her mother explained. "Daughter, each of these objects faced the same adversity, boiling water, but each reacted differently. The carrot went in strong, hard, and unrelenting, but after being subjected to boiling water, it softened and became weak. The egg had been fragile, its thin outer shell protecting its liquid interior, but after being subjected to boiling water, its inside was hardened. But the ground coffee beans, after being subjected to boiling water, they transformed the water. So which are you?" the mother asked. "When adversity knocks on your door, daughter, how do you respond? Are you a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean? Are you the carrot, which seems strong, but when confronting pain or adversity softens and wilts? Are you the egg, which starts with a malleable heart, but in the heat of trial becomes hardened and stiff? Or are you the coffee bean, transforming the water, releasing rich fragrance and flavor?" "So if you are like the bean," the daughter asked, "well, then when things are at their worst, you transform life into something new and better. You elevate life to another level. So, daughter, how will you handle adversity? Will you be changed by your surroundings, or will you bring life, bring flavor to them? Are you a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean?" I came across this story on a Facebook group for Reform rabbis. At first, it really resonated with me. As a religious leader at an unprecedented time, it helped me to frame the challenges that I am facing. I have so wanted to be a coffee bean, as demonstrated by my favorite phrase throughout the pandemic: "We are trying to make lemonade out of lemons." I have sought to focus on the opportunities before us as opposed to the challenges, and the leadership of Beth Chaim has been brainstorming new ways to create community, given that we have no choice now but to think outside the box. But when I read the comments on Facebook in response to this story, my eyes were opened to a perspective that had initially escaped me. One rabbi shared an article on the topic, toxic positivity. The author quoted Dr. Jamie Zuckerman, a clinical psychologist in Pennsylvania, who defines toxic positivity as the assumption, either by oneself or others, that despite a person's emotional pain or difficult situation, they should only have a positive mindset. We live in a society that struggles with expressions of negative emotions. We are encouraged or expected to look on the bright side, see the glass as half full, maintain a stiff upper lip, or suck it up. We are more inclined to post positive messages and images of ourselves on social media, hiding our internal challenges from public view. We are told to count our blessings instead of kvetch or complain. And the story I shared of one mother and her daughter reinforces this narrative, teaching that we should strive to be a coffee bean instead of a carrot or an egg. However, one of the central lessons I have learned from pastoral care is not to sweep someone's pain under the rug. During rabbinical school, I spent 2 summers working in hospitals as a chaplain. Both summers, I was assigned to the floor that treated life-threatening gastrointestinal illnesses, such as pancreatic cancer. While my natural inclination was to be an upbeat, smiling face for those who were suffering, there were times that my positivity was met with pain and frustration at my inability to see or acknowledge their pain. While the patients' bodies were being treated by the medical professionals, my job as chaplain was to treat their heart and soul. And the only way to heal psychological, emotional, mental, or spiritual hurt is to name it, sit with it, and grapple with it. In the last 6 months, we have seen a spike in mental health challenges. The pandemic has exacerbated struggles that existed beforehand, and it has led to an increase in cases of stress, depression, anxiety, isolation, addiction, and a whole host of other ailments. While we spend a lot of time focusing on the physical affliction of COVID-19, all too often we ignore or dismiss the non-physical afflictions that plague us. Instead of addressing that which we cannot see, especially by Zoom or FaceTime, we tell the carrots and eggs of the world that they are less than, that their response to the pandemic is not appropriate, that they should count their blessings and move on. And this is simply not true. And this is one of the messages of the Haftarah portion we read on Rosh Hashana. This story begins with Hannah, a woman struggling to conceive a child. The pain of Hannah's continued infertility cuts like a knife when her husband's other wife bears him multiple children and rubs it in Hannah's face. In her profound distress, Hannah weeps bitterly as she prays silently to God. Eli, the priest watching her supplication, mistakenly takes her for a drunkard. I am struck by the priest's assumption that Hannah should simply lay off the wine, that she should just clean herself up and move on, that all will be fine after she sleeps it off. Only when Hannah corrects him, alerting the priest to her pain, does Eli fully acknowledge the suffering person standing before him. My role as a rabbi and our obligation as a congregation is to see the suffering of those in our community. This is why we formed the Nefesh Committee last year. Nefesh is the Hebrew word for spirit or breath of life. As one leg of our Gateways initiative, Nefesh provides information, resources, and programming to nourish the mind, body, and soul of the members of the Beth Chaim family. When COVID-19 hit, Nefesh compiled resources to address our new reality and posted them on our temple website. The group brainstormed ways to reach congregants and meet their changing needs. For example, Nefesh is hosting a healing service next Friday night and leading a study session on Yom Kippur afternoon. They are partnering with local service organizations like Jewish Family and Children's Services to connect congregants with food and counseling and other modes of support. The incredible work of Nefesh demonstrates how we as a synagogue understand that this is a challenging time for us all, and many of us are seriously struggling. Your Beth Chaim family sees you and wants to help in any way we can. So I propose a different ending to the story with which we started. Maybe the carrots among us are softened by adversity, which enables us to be more open, understanding, or empathetic. Maybe the eggs among us need to put up walls to protect ourselves against adversity, which enables us to stay strong for loved ones or financial security. Maybe the coffee beans among us are changed by our experiences of adversity, which may or may not serve us going forward. And there are days when we are a coffee bean, and other days that we are an egg or a carrot. Just as the world shifts constantly in these tumultuous times, so too does our response to the trials and tribulations we encounter. No matter what your reaction is to the events that are out of your control, I want you to know that your pain is real, and at Congregation Beth Chaim, your pain is welcome. It is okay not to be okay. Unlike the ingredients in our story, we are all in the same pot. And if we can keep each other afloat, then we will get through this together. Wishing you and yours a Shana Tova, a good year filled with health, healing, and blessing.